He is Seth Wickersham here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Seth?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Where did I find you? Are you on the road in Denver? Are you going to the game right now? Where are you, Seth?
I wish. I'm just at home. I'm in Connecticut, so I wish I were at the game.
Okay.
I should have gone to it.
Okay. So what did you learn about John Elway that you didn't know going in?
Man, I'll tell you. So when I originally wanted to write about John, I kind of thought that the entire question I'm asking is, why is he doing this? He's got all this money. He's got all this fame. He doesn't need to be dealing with this, and especially, doing it in the manner that he does it, which is very intense. And, at the beginning, I kind of thought that it was maybe him just needing to win and having that competitive drive and just needing to win at things. And he needed to be a GM in the NFL to kind of have it be a needle for that vein. But after spending a while with him, I kind of realized that he's actually just like every other GM in the sense that he needs the game more than the game needs him. And, there's a quiet desperation to the way that a lot of these guys work, where it's just long hours staring at practice video and it's not very glamorous at all. And that's him. And I think that's the thing that surprised me the most.
Huh. That it's just a competitive spirit needing to be fueled by the game of football and nothing else. Car dealerships and whatever he was doing in between his playing career and his executive career just wasn't cutting it, Seth?
No, it wasn't. And I mean, the thing with business is that it takes a while to win. And then once you win, that's kind of it. And he won in business and he made a lot of money. And I think that, one of the interesting things he told me was he's not just addicted to winning. He's almost addicted to the pain of losing also. It's kind of like that scene in Swingers, at the very end where Mikey is saying, you miss the pain of the breakup. He even kind of misses the pain of losing, and he's kind of addicted to the unknowingness of knowing what's going to happen on a week-to-week basis. And those are all the things that I found the most interesting about him. Especially, he's 56 years old. He's got 4 houses. He can fly anywhere he wants at any time, and yet, this is how he's choosing to spend his time.
Seth Wickersham, who wrote a great piece, again, what a great title, too. John Elway's Drive Will Never End. You should all seek it out. And just the fact that he was so revealing, talking about how he wants a shovel to be placed in his grave with him, so he could dig his way out. Mm-hmm. Seth, where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think that he's starting to feel older. I think that that's the other part of this. I think that, the game makes you feel young, and I think that he's starting to feel a little bit older. And, he's suffered a lot of death in his life. And, he's reaching that age where, he's not old per se, but, people he knows who are his peers, might die of a heart attack randomly here or there. And, that stuff weighs on him. And, I think that he doesn't know any other way other than being involved with football as a mechanism to quell that sort of insatiable drive that he has. And so, he sort of said that. It surprised me. It kind of came up out of nowhere. And he just said, I think we were talking about dying young, because I think a lot of great athletes often feel like they're going to die young because they can't ever really imagine being old. And we were talking about that, and he said, I never thought about dying young, but when I die, I want to have a shovel with me in case I wake up, I can dig my way out. And I started laughing, and I said, that's the most Elway thing I've ever heard in my life. And his eyes kind of got big, and he was like, it's never over until it's over.
The Duke, John Elway, and trying to get things done for the Denver Broncos now up in the front office. Is there anything that you learned that could be used as predictive behavior with his current quarterback situation, Seth?
Man, they feel good about their quarterback situation, and it's one of the things that, from the outside, it's a little bit hard to understand, but I think they had Paxton Lynch rated number 2 on their board in terms of quarterbacks, and they feel like that for the amount that they gave up of all the teams that traded up to get a quarterback, they only gave up a 3rd rounder, while the other teams gave up, mortgaged their entire futures on these guys. And I think that it's those types of moves that I think they're very shrewd and they're subtly shrewd. Like he's very good at managing. He's very good at managing a team and very good at putting it together. And if the Lynch thing works out, he'll look great. And if it doesn't, he didn't cost himself that much by trading him to try to get him.
But he also knows how difficult it is to win a second Super Bowl, and also how rare an opportunity it is to have to win a second Super Bowl, because that means you've got to win, or back-to-back, you've got to win one and have one in your pocket first. The fact that he's built a team that does not require wins to come from a future Hall of Fame quarterback playing at a Hall of Fame level. You understand what I'm saying? Is that he's built a machine that is not quarterback-centric, is truly one of the more remarkable storylines involving John Elway that I can think of. Seth, I'm wondering what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's so ironic that he built the team that he wouldn't want to play for, but the one that he wouldn't want to face, And it is, it's really interesting how he's done it, and they're expecting a championship. I mean, that's the thing with Elway. Is like, we talk about how everybody in the NFL is very competitive, and they are to an extent. But there's really there's a handful of people that are truly, their self-worth and self-esteem is like tied to wins and losses. Like Elway, after they lost to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, it was one of the most miserable next 6 months of his life. And it took him right back to that place that he was at in the 80s where they were losing Super Bowls. And it was just astounding to think that someone who ended his career like he did could get sort of put back in that mindset, that the line is that thin. And yet that was the case. And, I mean, they are thinking repeat. They are not using the quarterbacks as an excuse, and they think they're better, actually, than they were a year ago. And it reminds me a little bit of how the Patriots handled things when Tom Brady went down and Matt Castle came in, where, there was no let-up. And, in fact, maybe Belichick put his foot down to the pedal a little bit harder. It's the same type of thing with Elway.
Yeah, Seth Wickersham wrote John Elway's Drive Will Never End for ESPN The Magazine, joining me here. A couple minutes left with you, Seth. How comfortable, because it seems certainly in your piece, and it certainly seems in conversations that he has publicly, how comfortable do you think John Elway is making the business decisions that, in the same way that he's building a team that he wouldn't have wanted to play for, he's making business decisions that he probably wouldn't want to be on the business end of as a player? How comfortable do you find him in that position, Seth?
I think he's learned to get comfortable with it, and I think that, it becomes – I think he never wants to be accused of being duplicitous or dishonest. But, man, I mean, he gets frustrated, and, every year it seems, there's some sort of contract deal, whether it was last year with Peyton taking the restructuring or this year obviously with Von Miller, where it gets nasty and personal in public. And I asked John, I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, you don't have to, go to these extremes. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, there's an easy way and I can never just do it. That's how you get fired. And I couldn't believe that he said that, because he's John Elway and he's with the Denver Broncos. The guy has more job security than anybody in the country, and yet that's how he sees it. Like, he can't betray how he sees, he should make a decision that is in the best interest of the Broncos, because, he feels like he'd be failing himself and putting his, even putting his own job at risk. And I found that just shocking. And I think that that's where a lot of this drive and spirit and sort of, persona that he has, I think that's just where a lot of it comes from.
And what do you think he told Trevor Siemian prior to tonight's start to kick off the season?
Man, I think the report is accurate. I mean, the best thing about John is that, I think that he knows how to talk to quarterbacks. He always knew how to talk to Peyton. He signed him by saying, I want to make you the greatest ever. And he got him to take a pay cut by saying, do you want to be considered better than Tom Brady? Championships will decide that. And I think that, whatever he said to Trevor Siemian, not being afraid, not looking over his shoulder, I'm sure helped, because I think that he's able to put himself in the other guy's shoes pretty easily.
Seth, great piece. Thanks for coming on this show and sharing your thoughts as you wrote with John Elway, something extremely insightful about a guy that I thought I knew pretty much everything about. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, It's my pleasure. I'm a big fan of yours, and I'm happy to be on.
Thanks, Seth. Look forward to the next time. That's at Seth Wickersham on Twitter here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.